Today's Neville Goddard conversation is built on the premise of this quote here, which to me sums up his entire philosophy. What do you say of the I am within you? See, we have awareness, and we have awareness of. In relation to what we say I am to, we could say I am to anything. I am a success, as we learned from Earl Nightingale's Strangest Secret, that the moment that a person commits to their vision, their goal, their success, they are on the journey to realizing that goal, the vision, the success. Now, this is done in imagination. In Thursday's video, we went through a lengthy discussion, pulling apart the exercises from the book The Master Key System by Charles Haanel. And the exercises were designed to stimulate our imagination. Now, you can say I am to anything in your imagination by identifying with something in your imagination. So the exercises were designed to reconnect you back to the vividness of your imagination so that you would be able to, we could say, let go of the five sensory world, the evidence of the five senses, so you could imagine and see yourself experiencing what you truly desire, whatever it may be. Now, if a person has challenges doing this, then the exercises that were presented in Thursday's video help tremendously. Because what are they designed to do? Well, they're designed to cultivate faith, and faith really is loyalty to the unseen reality. Or we could say fusion to the vision, how we actually desire to be. And because we understand, as we've been going through these conversations, that all change happens in mind, in consciousness, and the body is an expression of mind, then we go to the source within, and it is what we say I am to, what we identify with, our perspective in relation to, what we assume ourselves to be, what we believe to be true, both consciously and unconsciously. Many different ways of saying the same thing, and we want to question. This is a great question to ask ourselves. What do you say of the I am within you? Because at every moment, in the eternal now, we are always saying I am. I mentioned this a number of discussions ago in our Neville Goddard conversations. We're always saying I am. The question becomes, what are we saying I am to? So, self-condemnation is something that I want to discuss today in relation to this, because I believe it holds the key for allowing us to really go into our imagination and allow ourselves to imagine how we really want to be. Because when we know what we really want to be, we fuse with how we saw ourselves in the end in our imagination. And the subconscious mind, in its ways that we might not know, and the infinite world within, because remember we talked about this in Thursday's video, the infinite world within is the source of how this world, the world without, or the outer aspects of life, is presented. Perhaps we have identified with certain interpretations in regards to ourselves in relation to self-condemnation, which we could say we prevent ourselves within from imagining and fusing with what we truly desire. Let's get into discussion about this, because I believe this will be very helpful and complementary to the two videos this week. Number one, Tuesday, we talked about the 7-Day Mental Diet by Emmett Fox, bringing ourselves into awareness, I, and then essentially consciously choosing what we say I am to, the thoughts that we want to identify with, and allowing the thoughts that are not in harmony with our vision to be. Allow them to pass through us. And then we dedicated some time on Thursday to practice. And I trust maybe you've been doing some of those exercises. It was a lengthy video. master key system was something that I was working with since 2007. So, more so every day you can practice it. And what you'll find is you will have a greater degree of faith in the unseen reality of your imagination, knowing that it's the source of expression. I've seen this play out in many areas of my life, in my business, my relationships, in my entrepreneurial endeavors, in how I relate with family, friends, how I express, how I communicate, in my artistic expressions. And as also what Earl Nightingale suggested, many people say it different ways, but they agree to one thing, that we become what we think about. Or we could say what we say I am too, although we might not be consciously saying the words I am. It's what we identify with and assume ourselves to be in imagination. So let's look at this definition here of self-condemnation. I like this one. There are many definitions. And it's important to study words and recognize that words have many different meanings that we have associated to specific words. I can say the word money to somebody. It can awaken a feeling of the wish fulfilled in relation to prosperity. Or I could say the word money to another person and they could emotionally react to certain interpretations regarding limitations surrounding money. Where do we get these definitions from? Well, whatever the source may be, we have the power to change it. And we can choose the true definitions, the ones that are in alignment with how we really want to be. So I like this definition here. An admission that one has failed to do or be something that they know they truly want to be. So the only person that can condemn ourselves is ourselves in our own mind. This is what we want to really meditate upon. Because then when we know that we have the preference, then we can change our relationship. So we're going to look at 6 different ways of self-condemnation, but let's reflect upon this quote here from Neville as we get into our discussion. He says, change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Do not try to change people. They're only messengers telling you who you are, or we could say what we assume ourselves to be, what we say I am too. Revalue yourself and they will confirm the change. Now, I've seen this in many areas of my life. If you've been a subscriber to my channel long enough, you'll know that communication is one of my favorite things. And one of my reasons for why I love communication is what is revealed. I always say this. People inspire and reveal what's within ourselves. So I observe what I react to. That is what I'm saying I am too. I also observe what I further want to encourage myself. We could say, oh, I had a great conversation with this person, a great conversation with my team member. That's a form of encouraging what we consciously want to say I am too, which is those kinds of conversation. Now, a person might have some self-condemnation, which we'll talk about in a moment. 6 different ways that may show up in interactions with people, or in anything for that matter in life, which they can then say, look, this is perhaps how I was thinking myself to be in relation to. But I know that what I say I am too, or what I identify with, plays out as the outer expressions of that. So he says, instead of fighting against the evidence of senses, you claim yourself to be that which you desire to be. As your attention is placed on this claim, the doors of the senses automatically close against your former master, that which you were conscious of being. So we saw ourselves to be a certain way, and we didn't like the expressions of it via the 5 sensory evidence. How a person was communicating with us. People are messengers. This world is, you could say, every aspect of it, a messenger of what we are saying I am too. And if we have internal friction in relation to the different theatrical experiences that play out on the screen of space of life, then we have an opportunity to make peace with it. We talked about this in last Sunday's video. Feeling is the secret. one of my favorite books that he wrote. He says, "Be careful of the moods and feelings, for there is an unbroken connection between your feelings and your visible world." Now, the way I like to look at this and the way that I work with this is the moment that I commit to a vision, or we could say, I am this, I am that, it's done. And I don't necessarily know the way that it's going to play out as far as the theatrical experiences or the bridge of incidents on the journey to realizing my vision. In the entrepreneurial space, I know. That's because I have a lot of reference experience. But there was a time when I didn't have the reference experience. And for other things that I commit to now, for my next goals, my vision, my definite chief aims, and so forth, I might not know a lot of the ways or none of the ways of how it could play out. But I am guided from within via the feeling. I just maintain that connection, which he refers to as the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I just maintain it. How do I maintain it? Well, I just make flow a priority, which is why I suggest my flow series. I recommend it a lot. Because what I find is then I can actually listen to my intuition, my inner voice. I know what to say, what to do, when to do, why to do, how to do. And I'm not condemning myself for honoring my intuition. Perhaps I did that more so back in the days. But now I trust it even more so. I allow myself to express, and it's a feeling. Certainly the feeling can be translated over to words, which I continuously aim to get better at with practice. We even do this in the consultative selling space, where we apply a concept called feel, felt, found. We don't necessarily say it this way, but when we have a prospect or a client in front of us, our communication is done in a way where we really connect to how they feel, relate it over to our own reference experience, and say something that might go like, I know how you feel. I've felt that before. And here's what I found. It's a deep relationship, a deep connection. Now, interesting, from a third-party perspective, someone might look at that and say, they ended up doing the deal with you because you said feel, felt, found. And we can say this from the Neville Goddard perspective. That would be considered giving credit to the bridge of incidents. The credit is the source within, what we say I am too. Those that show up within my presence are ready to receive the product or service and are ready to reciprocate fair value exchange, my product, my service for their money or compensation. And again, I had learned that from The Stranger's Secret. And by listening to it via repetition again and again and again, I started to understand it more so, and it became what I unconsciously say I am too. So let's look at these here, these 6 that I've put together. We want to let go of self-condemnation in relation to what we imagine and desire to experience, and also in relation to the journey on the way to the destination. And this will allow to have more of a flow-based journey to the destination, because I see the journey and the destination as valuable. And the journey over to the destination is one of revelation of what we are saying I am to on the journey. We're always saying I am. The question is, what are we saying I am to? So as Neville says, what do you say of the I am within you? So he says, don't condemn yourself for the state into which you have fallen. If you don't like it, move into another. So that's what we do. We move into another state. And here's a way that I found to work really well to bring me into another state. So let's look at these potential thought processes that I would somehow reveal within myself that I'm unconsciously saying I am too, based on the experiences that I'm having. Fear of actually achieving success. Believing that we are not worthy of the success. Belief that others hold us back. Fear of possible failure on the path to success. Fear we are not good enough to achieve success. Another way of looking at not worthy, I just worded it a little different because there's many ways of saying the same thing. Fear of expressing your greatness. These are interpretations. They're interpretations in mind. And because they are interpretations, they only have power when we say I am to these interpretations. So what can we say that is actually true and in harmony to our goals, our visions, if these things were to show up. Knowing that when we say I am too, what is true and accurate, we move into the state of mind that is aligned with the vision, and we experience more of a flow-based journey. And we make peace with that attribute within ourselves. Remember always, awareness is key. You get better at it with practice. You have a heightened degree of awareness as you work with this information on an ongoing basis to be able to observe if you are reacting to anything in relation to certain thought processes that we are consciously and unconsciously saying I am too, such as these, thus perhaps bringing us into different states of mind. Number one, fear of actually achieving success. A person might not feel that they're good enough. Perhaps they might say something to themselves like, I really am good enough. More so every day, I realize that I am good enough. I realize I am divine perfection and I have the power to choose any state because I accept myself, or something like that, some kind of inner dialogue. Or imagine what would imply, such as going straight to the end, as he suggests. See yourself already as the person who has achieved success. Imagine it, fuse with it. You experience then the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And what I used to do, and I still do it, I keep the card with me, which I also learned from The Strangest Secret, is I just write my definite chief aim or my goal on my card, and if needed, I would pick it up and read it, because it would be me going straight to the end. I would, as a result of reading it, conjure up in my imagination, because I am a person that is a fan of words, and words stimulate my imagination. So I automatically, as a result of reading my definite chief aim card, can see myself at the end, which is transcendent to actually achieving success, fear, believing I'm not worthy, others holding me back, and all these things. I go into that state of mind, and I can feel it. And then I live in resonance. Now, when I say live in resonance, I'm referring to making flow a priority and actually committing to that which honors that resonant feeling. And that's it. Now, we get better at it with practice. Again, this is a very simplified way of going back to the essence of his teaching. What do you say of the I am within you? That's it. Now, we recognize, and certainly it was for me, I've been on this journey since 2004 when I read Think and Grow Rich, started working with auto-suggestions and so forth. It seemed to be a lot more challenging in the earlier years. It's a lot easier now. And I believe one of the reasons why for me is because a lot of these thinking patterns here I no longer identify with. They don't even make any sense to me. But back in the days, I probably would find all kinds of reasons why these are actually true. Now, I call this the journey of purification of the mind, or we can also refer to this as the spiritual alchemy process. Many different ways of looking at it. There are many modalities to work with it. I recommend The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. I'll put a link in the description to that discussion. And as we begin to work with these different things in different ways, and you'll know your way. I always say one way is not necessarily better than the other. The answer is it depends. It could be do a little bit of affirmation, do a little bit of visualization, or put yourself in a certain environment and have a certain experience, have a certain conversation. It could be a mix and match. Certainly it was for me. And on my journey, I always share my own reference experience. Upon working with this information to produce entrepreneurial success, continued success in friendships, relationships, quality of life, and living life exactly how I really want to live, I realized that it all tracks back to what he has been suggesting all throughout his books and all throughout his lectures. And that is really this question. What do you say of the I am within you? So let's continue reflecting upon this. We shall further discuss this to further encourage it. Because that's the key of working with this information, the repetition of the same information, and the repetition of the same information from different perspectives, is it further encourages to go to the source of it all and change it at the source. Remember, no one to change but self, what we say I am too, and allow and I don't have it in front of my screen here, the Robert Dilts model, the capabilities, the behaviors, the environments, the values and beliefs to change to reflect that state of what we say I am too. So I trust you found this to be helpful. Let's actually conclude today's video with an auto-suggestion to allow us to ascend past these interpretations here into a true and accurate interpretation, releasing from self-condemnation so we can imagine that what we truly desire and live from that premise. And you can say, I realize that I am success. Success is my birthright. I have the power to choose whatever state that I want to identify with, what I feel inspired to identify with, because I'm worthy of the success that is the outer representation of the inner consciousness. I recognize that all are in harmony and contribution to my vision, and I am able to see this more so every day. I realize that there are many pathways to success, and what I perceive as failure is opportunity that I'm able to transmute by feeling the energy of perceived obstacle and transmuting that internally into energy of opportunity. I realize through the process what I want wants me back. I realize that it is my destiny to express my greatness. Through the process, I recognize that the cause is within. It is what I say I am too. So I ask myself on the day-to-day journey to realizing my success, which is inevitable, what do I say of the I am within myself? And from this revelation, I'm able to select, imagine what it implies, and live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled from that premise. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.